Hi Chantel, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Welcome back. I remember our last session, you mentioned that you were going out of town for the weekend. How was your trip?
It was really good. It was nice, needed getaway, which I could have stayed
Oh,
way longer.
I believe it. Don't we all wish that when we go on vacation?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you had a good time.
Thank you.
Uh, so we've been seeing each other now for about a month. And it is the agency's policy to, after about 4 to 5 weeks of sessions, that we do a depression screener. So I wanted to walk you through that today. I want to make sure that we have plenty of time left in our session for you to talk about whatever is on your mind today. So, are you okay if I go through what this screener entails?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, before I get started, as a reminder, like we went over in our first session, everything that's said here truly does stay here, except for three different reasons. That's one, if you had thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself, that includes self harm and suicidal ideation. If somebody was hurting you, or you wanted to hurt somebody else. Like I said, I am a mandated reporter. So during those situations, I would need to get somebody outside of the two of us involved to make sure that you are safe and others are safe. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Beautiful. So, with this tool, this is a tool that is used to help get a better idea of if you are experiencing any symptoms of a depressive disorder. This is by no means a diagnostic tool. So, this information isn't being used to diagnose a mental illness, but rather it's giving me an idea of how we can work together to guide our treatment planning. So, what
Okay.
I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll ask you a series of questions, and I'll have you rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 3. And then when we're all done, I will tally up the score and it'll give us some insight on how we should proceed moving forward together. Does that generally make sense?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Awesome. So, the questions I'm going to ask you, there are 10 of them total. When I'm asking you these questions, I am asking you to reflect on the last 2 weeks, not your entire life, not the past month, the last 2 weeks. And it's on a scale of 0 to 3. So 0 is not at all, 1 is several days, 2 is more than half the days, and 3 is nearly every day. And I'll kind of remind you of those rankings as we go through. So we can go and get ahead and get started if you're comfortable.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So over the last 2 weeks, have you had any little interest or pleasure in doing things? 0, not at all. 1, several days. 2, more than half the days. 3, nearly every day.
I would say two.
Okay. Over the last 2 weeks, have you felt down, depressed, or hopeless? 0, not at all. 1, several days. 2, more than half the days. 3, nearly every day.
One.
Okay. Over the last 2 weeks, have you had any trouble falling asleep or staying asleep or sleeping too much?
Two.
2, more than half the days.
Yeah.
Okay. Over the last 2 weeks, have you felt tired or as if you have little energy?
Yeah, I would say a two, more than half the days.
Okay. Over the last 2 weeks, have you had poor appetite or have you overate?
Yes, more than half the days, so two.
2, beautiful. Over the last 2 weeks, have you felt bad about yourself or that you are a failure or have let yourself or your family down?
Zero.
Okay. So not at all.
Not at all.
Okay. Over the last 2 weeks, have you had trouble concentrating on things such as reading the newspaper or watching TV?
Yeah, I would say probably more than half the day, so two.
Okay. Over the last 2 weeks, have you been moving or speaking slowly that other people could notice? Or maybe it's the opposite. You've been so fidgety or restless that you've been moving around a lot more than usual.
Think a little, yes. I would say one.
Okay. Would you say that that is more moving slowly or being fidgety and restless?
Being restless.
Okay. So we're restless several days of the week.
Yeah.
Okay. And then over the last 2 weeks, have you had thoughts that you would be better off dead or hurting yourself in some way?
No. So zero.
Okay. So of those feelings that you've been having, maybe those unwanted feelings you've been having, how difficult have these problems made it for you to do your work, take care of things at home, or get along with other people? Would you say one, not difficult at all, two, somewhat difficult, three, very difficult, or four, extremely difficult?
I would say three. It's been pretty difficult.
Okay. Thank you for sharing all of that and going through this with me. I appreciate you being open and transparent. I'm going to take just a second to tally up your scores and then we will discuss.
Okay.
So I'm going to look away for a minute. Okay. So you scored a 12, and the highest that you could have scored is a 27. And what that means, according to this assessment, is that you are scoring in the moderate range for depression severity. So the rankings are none or minimal, mild, moderate, moderately severe, or severe. So you're right in the middle at moderate. And what that means is not necessarily that we're at a place to diagnose a depressive disorder, but I'd like to ask you some follow-up questions about some of the things that you reported to get a better understanding of how you've been feeling for the past 2 weeks. Because some of those sound pretty challenging to me.
Yeah.
How would you feel about exploring some of your answers a little bit more today during our session?
Yeah, I would like that.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and do that and then we'll go from there. Okay? Okay.